Hey guys, I'll give you my experience searching through Northeastern co-ops and how I navigated each and every of my co-op search. So as a whole, I've done 3 co-op searches and I'm also a business student. So my degree is business administration, concentrating in finance and concentrating in international business. So each one of the co-op searches was a little different, but I'll walk you through my first search. In my first search, I applied to 116 total co-ops. From that, I had 10 interviews and I had 2 offers. When I first navigated my first co-op, I didn't exactly know what I was doing. I was back then just a finance student and then I also minored in CS. So I had a bit of finance and CS background, but to be fair, I didn't really know what I wanted. I had a bit of experience in startups and venture capital, but definitely no actual work experience. My thinking when I went through my co-op search was just to apply to as many good co-ops as possible and any co-op that sounded really cool or really competitive. I applied to a lot of consulting, banking, heavy finance co-ops, and just co-ops that were from companies that had really big names. So Goldman, Morgan Stanley, Jeffries, Aries, and just being able to apply to all those co-ops and to see if I could get any co-ops from them. I did pretty good, and back then we were able to apply to over 100 co-ops and we had no limit. So the moment I found a co-op that looked interesting, it looked prestigious and it looked important, I immediately just skimmed through the description and just immediately applied. In my 10 interviews, I did get an offer in the middle of the session. My first offer was in the middle to end of October, and then my second offer was at the very end of October. Luckily, my offers overlapped, so I didn't need to make a hard decision right away. But when I got my second offer at Aries, I knew that the company was, in my opinion, pretty prestigious and really hard to get. Even though I didn't exactly know what I was doing and I didn't know what I want to do, I felt I couldn't really go on. I couldn't really go wrong doing a prestigious co-op. That was my first search. In my second search, I had a similar process, honestly, but this time I applied to even more co-ops where I applied to 126 co-ops. From that, I had 17 interviews. Then from those, I had 2 offers. This search was a little different because when I worked at Aries, I was a data analyst in my co-op, and I realized I didn't necessarily love doing as much data as possible, and I wanted a more frontal action, more I wanted to do more non-technical stuff. Normally it's the other way around, but I realized that I didn't love just doing data. From there, I also did a similar process where I applied to a lot of private equity, consulting, banking, honestly anything that sounded prestigious, anything that sounded really important, anything that paid well and had a lot of job security in the future. I think I was very pushed to choose co-ops that were prestigious because of the money, and also because when I was applying with my other friends around me in the business school, everyone was also really driving forward to getting these really prestigious co-ops, and I kind of got swept in with their hype, and I also wanted to apply too. I had a lot of interviews in this time, so with the 125 co-ops I applied to, I had 17 interviews, and I had 2 offers. When I got my first offer at the end of September, I was really conflicted because it was a offer from a really good company at a really prestigious sales and trading role. It was a good role, but I think I was hesitant because I had better roles I was waiting to hear back on. I moved to the final round for a couple investment banking companies, and I needed a bit more 1 or 2 more weeks to figure it out. And I decided to take a risk to turn down my co-op offer for sales and trading and see if I could get the opportunity to go to banking or private equity. Long story short, it fell through. So I didn't get, after turning down the sales and trading, both my banking interviews that I was going for rejected me too. So I was stuck in the iffy position. I had a couple of regrets in the first couple of weeks, but then I kept searching too. And by the end of October, I got another offer from another company and I ended up accepting that. Because it was my second search, I think as a whole, getting co-op offers was a lot easier because I had a reputable experience in the past. It definitely each and every time I apply for co-ops, the more experience and the more I think jacked out and the more in-depth my resume is, the easier it is to get opportunities. It's I guess inherently unfair for newer students, but it also makes sense too because like I think from a company perspective, like they want to choose the candidates that are the most knowledgeable and the most experienced. And yeah, definitely like the second search, I was still like pretty nervous. I wasn't as stressed and overwhelmed as my first search, but I definitely had a lot of like sleepless nights and a couple days where I was very, very conflicted about the decisions I made, and if I made the right decision or not. For my third search as a fourth year, I was even conflicted to even apply in the first place. I had internships in the summer too, so this would be like my fourth or fifth actual experience. But I wanted to just apply just for the fun of it and just to see like what opportunities can fall on my plate. So I applied to 24 co-ops. From those 24 co-ops, I had 10 interview invites, and then I had 2 offers. So this like ratio of like application to interview for my third search was like extremely high. I think like by the time I was on my third co-op, I was like really, really lucky to be able to even apply in the first place. And I think like with all the experience I had in the past, like my resume and my experience made myself a lot better of a candidate, especially as I compare to like second years or third years. I think I honestly wasn't nervous when I applied to these co-ops in the first place, because I think I had a very structured goal of like what I wanted. I wasn't like too focused on the fact that I needed a co-op. For me, like it was really lucky because I had a mindset of if I got a co-op or not, it wouldn't matter because what I want in the future was already set in stone and pretty structured. But my intention of getting a co-op was to either learn or to explore new opportunities. And I decided when I did accept the co-op that I did, I wanted to accept it because I just liked the team, I liked what they do, and I just wanted to learn more in my final 6 months before I graduated. So I actually still walk in May, and I will graduate, or I'll like officially graduate in August, even though I'm basically done with classes now. As long as you have one class that you haven't finished yet, you're able to do a third co-op, at least in the end of 2024. This might change in the future because I know like they were a little hesitant about it. As a whole, I think I'm really lucky when I went through this co-op process because I wanted to apply for co-ops that would really help me on a personal level grow and just really develop. The 2 offers were honestly like I was extremely lucky to, not necessarily lucky, but I'm extremely blessed and privileged to get these 2 opportunities. I got an offer for a VC firm and I got an offer from a private equity firm. And honestly, like they were both like tough decisions and they both came at the same time because when I got my private equity offer, I immediately followed up with my VC company and then they gave me a counter offer too. And I think I was very conflicted too because one was in New York that paid a lot more and the one in Boston didn't pay as much. But ultimately, when I think back up about like what I wanted in a co-op, it's wasn't necessarily for getting a return offer. It wasn't necessarily to really like stress over, but for a place to just keep learning. And when I thought about like what I wanted, like I decided to go with VC because I think like it would provide me the perfect mix of being able to like work really hard, learn a lot, and not being as stressed compared to PE. Yeah, as a whole, like by the time I was in my third search, like I had such a good return rate on how many co-ops I applied to, and I think like yeah, definitely like the more I apply and the more I experience, the easier it is to get interview invites. So I think like for anyone that's like pretty new in the process, it does get easier. I know like my first time I was searching, like as a whole, I was just so stressed and so overwhelmed. Yeah, I was just so anxious, so mentally drained over like what I want to do in the future. Even now, I'm not like fully sure and I'm not like certain I want to do this thing in the future, and I'm not like certain that I want to do this path in the future. But what I am certain of is that I really like these things and I really value these traits and I really value these technologies, and I want to incorporate that in my future too. So I'm honestly the same as my first co-op. I still don't completely know what I do, but I do know that I am really lucky to be a part of this program because I'm able to constantly explore new opportunities, constantly learn more. And because like I'm still like technically a student, people are a lot more receptive of being able to reach out to me and for me to communicate too. I'm really like gouging my like studentness further, because it really helps me be able to really just like act like a sweet, innocent person that just wants to learn. And I am that. I'm a lot more structured, a lot more further on in my experiences. I'm not too sure where I was going with that, but what I mean is that I think for anyone that is going through a similar process, I would recommend just taking a breath and knowing that like it's okay and that it's all gonna work out eventually. I know you hear that all the time and it might feel like it might not work out, but it does get easier, and the hardships that you face in the beginning are like perfect stepping stones for a more grounded future. Yeah, that's just my cup of tea on like the Northeastern co-op process, and it is very stressful, but it's also a great program, and it has taught me so many valuable lessons. So, we would recommend anyone that goes to Northeastern to really take advantage of this program, and also like to breathe in this program too. Like, it's gonna be okay. Everyone runs their own race, and I mean it when I say that. Yeah, thank you for watching.